Just a little bit of background on myself. My name again is Joseph Cerecedes. I am the president and founder of Liquid Phi, as well as Phi Unlimited Energy. And I am the author of Biological Resonance, Thriving in a Radioactive Universe, basically a scientific treatise on understanding how the biology of the cell interacts with various forms of radiation, whether ionizing or non-ionizing, whether man-made or whether natural. And this has been a key component of my research to comprehend the nature of aging and the process that we go through in the degeneration over time of eventually into disease and to death. And so this is a really critical thing to understand, because we know our modern day, we supposedly have the most advanced medical health practices in the history of mankind. However, we're sicker than we've ever been. And sure, we have lots of awesome technology, but the sicker that we get, the less this technology is becoming effective to actually fix the problems that are quite simple and easy and cheap to resolve. And so we're going to get into a bit of that. My background, of course, as a mycologist afforded me the ability to publish some peer-reviewed articles in the Encyclopedia of Dietary Supplements, which is edited by Paul Coates of the National Institutes of Health. And I published a paper with the leading medical mycologist in the world, Solomon P. Wasser, who's the editor-in-chief of the International Journal of Medicinal Mushrooms and the International Journal of Medicinal Algae, as well as Moitza Thynik, Matt Cleaver, and John Holliday, some of the leaders in cordyceps production. Cordyceps is a fungus that grows in the Himalayan mountains, and its ability to be used as a medicine for thousands of years, whether to treat various forms of diseases and help people at the highest elevations on Earth survive not just the radiation levels, but the thin oxygen, the thin atmosphere that's up in high elevation. I have a lot of background and experience in the medical mycology field at some of the highest levels. And here are some images just to kind of give you a little bit more of a sense of my work in the biotechnologies field, just to show you some of the work that I've done in United Nations contracting for hepatitis C and HIV medications and biopharmaceuticals to over 58 different countries. I've done work in microrestoration and microfiltration technologies. I've definitely focused my energy on trying to capture and retain a gene bank of some of the last rare and endangered fungal species left on Earth from some of the remaining late successional old growth forests of the Northwest. It's a good time to fix your eyes on the screen. If in the case that you haven't seen this before, which is most of the people that are new to this, you'll never have seen this anywhere else. And what you're about to see is something quite special. So what we're looking at is a drop of the water under the microscope. And this is allowing us to see the actual evaporation or the evaporative loss of the water off of the slide. And when we can see that the mineralization is occurring, which isn't a surprise, but what is unique about this is that it is extremely dendritic, and its ability to move as if it was no different than mycelium of a fungus or roots of a plant, like I said, very intelligently and very organically. This puts a different spin on people's concept of living water or charged water or crystalline water. A lot of people, energized water. A lot of people have a lot of ideas as to what all of that is, and most water samples will not show this from most of those products that I think a lot of people are familiar with. A lot of people have heard about all the different water fads that have gone around, and I'm really proud to be able to show this video footage to you guys to show you what we're talking about is not a gimmick. What we're talking about is the actual life process of waters and water and minerals, and how they actually function to deliver all of the essential minerals that the ecosystem and every organism in it needs, like potassium and magnesium and lithium and sodium and calcium. All of these are essential for your body to relax, for your muscles to calm down, and for you to sleep, for instance. You need magnesium. Magnesium is consumed predominantly by the brain and the heart. The majority of our magnesium is consumed in the brain and the heart. So when you're lacking magnesium, a lot of people will find that they get cramps in their legs or in their arms or in different parts of their body, and they have irritability, they have anxiety, difficulty relaxing and sleeping. A lot of times insomnia comes along with that. Magnesium is known as the calm mineral, right? That's the one that's a relaxation mineral. Sodium and potassium, again, other minerals that are needed for the contraction and the expansion of our muscles. So for the heart to contract and expand, it needs potassium and sodium. And that is why we refer to the potassium and sodium as an electrochemical pump. Potassium, sodium, potassium, sodium, potassium, sodium. These are aspects that are critical in understanding water, because water is thirsty for minerals. Water carries minerals. That is water's job. Water's job is to carry minerals, and those minerals conduct electricity. And that's critical. You know, that's very, very important for any living system. Water, minerals, and electricity. Because our nerves, in order for our nerves to communicate, for our nerve cells to communicate, for our blood cells to communicate, for any of the body's cells to communicate, it's all electrical impulses. It's electrical signals. And those are determined by the electrolytes or the minerals, but those lack these essential mineralization, this essential crystallization that you see that occurs in natural water, in springs around the planet. The Mount Shasta is known to be one of the most pristine water sources left on the planet Earth, with the highest quality water that people come from all over the world to drink. And in my study of the water samples from Mount Shasta, it was apparent to me that this crystallization process was occurring, whereas in other water that of course, from like bottled water or anything like that, do not have and possess these natural crystallization. So again, just to show you the natural, pure, pristine state of water, what it should look like, what we should expect to see, which is, again, unfortunately for most of us in the world, not what we're drinking. So again, just to give you guys a sense of what we are doing here at Liquid Phi, is that we are growing living water, is what I like to say.
A few months ago, when we first talked about acid-base reactions, we saw how acid rain could melt the face off a statue, which is better than melting your face off, which some acids can do, so consider yourself lucky. Acid rain forms when sulfur dioxide emitted from burning fossil fuels reacts with water in the air to form sulfuric acid. And back when acid rain was at its worst in the 80s and 90s, it was the scourge of pristine waterways all over Europe and North America. Some rivers and streams were left completely devoid of algae and fish. In Montana, where I live, we saw quite a bit of acid rain too, as that statue could attest. But oddly enough, rivers and streams here did not suffer the same horrible effects as other places. This that I'm standing in right now is the Clark Fork River. It remains relatively unharmed by acid rain. In fact, when the water that fed it had a pH of 4.5, the river remained basic. This is a dropper full of dilute sulfuric acid. Think of it as a model for acid rain. And this is just distilled water with a pH indicator in it that makes it blue when it's neutral or basic, and it'll turn pink if it's at least a little bit acidic. Let's see how much acid it takes to turn our distilled water a little bit acidic. Let's do one drop. Oh, wow. It's already pink, guys. It's already pink. One drop. But let's try the same thing with the river water. Let's see how many drops it takes before it turns... I'm just dumping it in there. We getting it? It's starting to happen now? There. It's sort of half and half. Got a half and half transition. After like 5 or 6 or 7 drops, that was a lot more. And we're not even all the way there. Get a little bit more. A little bit more. A little bit more. Come on. There we go. There. Now it's acidic. Why does this happen? It's because this river is protected by limestone, which is calcium carbonate that is present throughout the entire river system. Acid rain dissolves the calcium carbonate in the limestone. That carbonate washes into the river and acts as a natural buffer. A buffer solution resists changes to its pH when a strong acid or base is added to it. So the Clark Forks geochemistry explains why acid rain isn't as devastating here as it is in, say, the Adirondack Mountains of New York, where there is no limestone. Buffering is a big deal in chemistry. We buffer swimming pools to prevent the chemicals from damaging our skin, and we buffer soda pop to prevent the acidic flavorings from damaging our teeth and tissues. We even have buffers in our blood to keep our internal pH constant and ourselves healthy. I think it's important to learn about something that powerful. How about you?
So just to give you guys, again, another sense of what is exactly that we're talking about here, that I believe is a really, really good basic preface of what a buffer is. And I want to show you this video that
here we have Kangen water.
Will
we're go ahead
give you a better sense of Luna as a product and as a water buffer. We can see in this glass on the right, this is actually Kangen water, or basically an alkaline water from an alkaline water ionizer. This is water coming out directly from Luna. This bottle is basically a liquid crystalline electrolyte, and we're going to get into what exactly that means. But basically what we're looking at is the ability to dictate or to examine the pHs of these solutions. We can see that the pH of the Kangen water, or the alkaline water, is actually more like a 7.5 to 8. We definitely have something more of a 8.5 pH. And we're just going to put some drops of lemon, which act as an acid. And it was just a couple of drops that we put in, and you can see that the alkaline water ionizer makes very unstable water. This water has now become an acid with just a few drops of lemon juice. And we're going to put lemon juice into Luna, and we can see that just with a few drops of Luna, or a few drops of lemon juice, acid, vitamin C into Luna, we can see that the pH has not changed. And we'll put some more drops of citric acid, vitamin C, lemon juice into the Kangen water, and then we can do the same to Luna. And we see that this is the nature of a buffer, is that you can hit a buffer with multiple different types of acids, and the buffer stays stable, pH stable. The better the buffer, the more stable the reaction, and the more acid it can absorb, kind of like an airbag absorbs the force if you were to, get in a car accident. This is the nature of a buffer. This keeps us from burning our tissues, right, with acids. To give you guys a sense of what that actually looks like, I'd like to draw your attention to what distilled water looks like. Here, let's just take a look at distilled water. This is, again, this is the equivalent of rainwater or reverse osmosis water, distilled water. It's all in the family, meaning that they've been completely stripped of all their minerals, and all that's there is water. And as you can see here, there's nothing more than just water. Now, you'll see actually one mineral escape the process. Here, look at this little guy here. And that little crystalline mineral, most people would associate with a salt, and people would say, well, that crystal, that salt, maybe that is a magnesium salt or a sodium salt or potassium salt, and they're going to put that in a product, and they're going to consume it and hopefully absorb potassium. What we do is very different, right? What we do is take these minerals and we actually activate them, and we are able to show very clearly that these minerals in their active form are liquid crystals. And you can see very clearly that this branching structure that formed from Luna, that the single crystal here was like a seed, and it's not unlike a plant that germinates roots. It's very, very similar in its way about itself. It grows these dendritic structures very akin to like nervous tissues or lightning or any types of root systems that we would be familiar with. As I continued my research, again, as I had mentioned before, I have a background in mycology, and so when I'm growing these cultures, this particular culture here, as you can see, is grown in a petri dish in a laboratory very much like the one behind me. that I'm sitting in. And here's a liquid crystal. Of course, that was my saliva that came out of my mouth. Here's a brain cell, and here's dark matter in the universe. Super clusters of galaxies thrown together, woven together in this amazing, fabric of so-called dark matter. These are evidence for us to begin to really wrap our minds around the fact that nature has a very distinctive pattern. And it's one thing to see a brain cell in culture and this microscopic picture, or a dark matter simulation. But it's something different when we can see it in our water, in our saliva, in the fungi that we eat, right? The mushrooms on your pizza or in your salad. These are aspects of the universe that are inherent in everything at all scales, from the micro to the macro. These are mycorrhizae. They're fungi that are growing in association with plant roots, helping the plant to sponge and absorb thousands of times more water and nutrients than its little roots would ever be able to do on their own. It creates a much larger immune system for the plant. And again, these look very similar to what we would see in the water images, which is, again, why when I saw the images in the water, it made very clear sense to me what I was looking at. Here's an image of all of the river systems. Again, as you guys look at this, these are not very dissimilar from the images in the microscope, which I just showed you. And to be honest with you, when I look at these different mineral structures, or these different aquifer systems, these different waterways, this isn't too dissimilar, again, from what I see in the microscopic images. However, what is interesting is that each of these are different formations. And you can see the ferning formation versus these more dendritic fractal formations that are more akin to like nervous tissue. And this is telling me what minerals are actually deposited and strewn throughout the land. The crystallization is what again gives it away. So we are living on a giant liquid crystal. If anybody was missing, that fact before, I hope you guys will not miss that now. Lightning and electricity and the interactions that we see with water. And so this is actually an experiment that I'm going to show you that is going to help us visualize electricity. This is just a pane of glass, and there's a high voltage probe that's about to shove like 1,000,000 volts through this pane of glass and show us a very, very beautiful display of active lightning. So you guys can see that, right? I mean, that's lightning passing through a pane of glass. This is active. I mean, look at that. It's moving at the speed of light, quite literally. This is a very good, I feel like a very good visual aid to help us understand what the water is doing inside of our body and why our blood vessels are shaped the way they are, why our nervous system is shaped the way that it is, why our lymphatic system is shaped the way that it is. Because of the fact that this is an electrical phenomena that is dictated and determined by the mineral composition of the water and its ability to carry electrical energy in these crystalline lattice structures that actually help to mobilize not just electricity and electrons and protons, but they're actually able to mobilize minerals, like I said, potassium and magnesium and calcium and lithium and sodium and so on and so forth. Again, we're going to bring this up and just want to draw that correlation in your guys' mind, right? To a neuron in the brain, to a bolt of lightning, to roots, to mycelium, to dark matter. All of this stuff is what joins all of the universe, quite literally, and it is the energy that binds. Once again, this is the active crystallization in Luna. And those of you who, again, are just joining us could take a look at our website, www.liquidphi.com. and find more information on this. But we haven't uploaded our videos yet, but we are intending on getting some of this online. But this is some of the first. You're among the first that have witnessed this. But I'd like to maybe draw a couple of more interesting correlations between, let's say, collagen in the human body. Collagen is known by the scientific community to actually be a liquid crystal. Collagen is all, as we all know, especially those of us who like to take care of our skin, is basically what makes up the skin and all the connective tissues. If we took collagen out of us, that's like taking all of the glue and we would just fall apart. It's incredibly important. And because when the collagen becomes dehydrated and we start getting wrinkles and our skin begins to degenerate and flake away and oxidize, that's our immune system. Our skin is our immune system. It's the largest organ. The epidermis is the largest organ of the body. And we need to keep it intact, not just because we want to look good and we want to feel good and we want people to look at us and think that we're 10 years younger than we actually are, but because of the fact that it's our immune system that's keeping out all of the critters and the bugs that want to get in and eat all of the, all of the yummy nutrients that we're made of, right? So this is incredibly important in understanding how to nourish and how to hydrate all of the natural liquid crystalline structures in our body, collagen being a primary one, right? DNA is encapsulated by a liquid crystalline substance. And again, if we're made of minerals, it makes perfect sense as to why the human body acts and behaves the way that, and grows the way that it does. And it's a mineralization process. Our bones, or they grow, they create these complex crystals, right? It's the water that creates the crystalline structure. It's water that creates the organized system. Well, thank you, everybody, for joining in, and we'll go ahead and sign off. Thanks on behalf of all of us here at Liquid Phi Incorporated. And again, don't forget to visit our website at www.liquidphi.com and get your 8-ounce or 2-ounce Luna bottle today. All right, you guys. Much love, take care, and peace be with you all.